all control. Gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She comes with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another fine, fun-filled episode of the Paranormal Portal Bedtime Stories from Beyond. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for being here and for spending your evening here with me. I'm so thrilled. It really does boggle my mind, but it's such an honor. And when I see these numbers just piling in, and I know they're not just numbers, they're all of you guys, but it's just such a thrill. So thank you guys for being here, being a part of our journey into the Paranormal Portal. Looks like it's breakfast for dinner. I have a bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. MCAT, you're living like the king, living the good life. Oh, hi, Blondie Lady. Good to see you. And hello to all of you guys in the chat. Thank you so much. And thank you to those who are just sitting and not chatting, but just having a listen, or thank you whenever you're listening to the show. I know a lot of people can't make the live shows, but you guys are watching the YouTube episodes as they're in archive, so I really appreciate that as well. Tomorrow another podcast is coming out. It should be a good one, hopefully. So definitely tune in and check that out, and you can get that wherever you get podcasts from. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, YouTube is not podcasts. So whenever you hear podcast, that is not YouTube. That's not a YouTube episode. A podcast is actually a different format completely. It's audio only, but people like Joe Rogan and stuff do simulcast their podcasts or at least play a video version of it after it's out on the podcast universe. But traditionally, podcasts are audio only files that are listened to through specific platforms, like your browser, your web browser can get podcasts if you configure it to do that. It can be on Pandora, Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, Stitcher, Chatbox, wherever. So that's where you'll find the Paranormal Portal podcast. So just to clear up any confusion, I get people saying that they come over to YouTube to check out the podcast, and that's really a whole separate thing. There's two very different episodes going on there, and I'm not making fun of anybody. I just wanted to clarify that because I know these terms are thrown around, and some people are newer to the whole idea of podcasts and checking out live streaming on entertainment. So the YouTube is a live stream that is recorded and can be played back any other time as long as you have an internet connection. A podcast is an audio platform you can download and put on your phone or whatever player on your computer and listen to it wherever you want, whenever you want, and doesn't require an internet connection a lot of times to just listen to it after the fact. So those are just some clarifications. I hope that helps. But anyway, so when I say check out our podcast, I mean to go over one of these other platforms that I mentioned before and do a search for the Paranormal Portal podcast. I'd really appreciate it. So got a great show lined up for you guys tonight. Hope you'll enjoy it. The phone lines will be open throughout the show if you have something paranormal or some spooky thing happening to you that you want to share with us here on the show. That's awesome. I'd love to hear from you. The call-in number is 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. So thank you all for participating however you do. Let's take a look and see who's here. We got Bella here. Hi, Bella. Big Rob. How you doing? Blondie Lady. Bob in Germany. Cameron. Chris Jarvis. Deborah Varner. DJ Big Red. E. Spears is here. John Nelson. Justin Longteen. Is that Yeah, EIN. Okay. I don't have my glasses, so my glasses aren't quite the right prescription. I'm kind of in that in-between state for some small fonts. Christy, hello, Christy Spears. Linda, MCAT is here. Mogollon Monster, Nessie Monster. I'm here. Philip Blair's here. Real Deal popped in. Robert Edgington, Sam Squatch Rivers, Smokin' Joe, and the Duke is in the house. So, and Duke is also known in the chat as World Bigfoot Radio, and the reason he's known for World Bigfoot Radio is because that's his show, and you can find that here on YouTube as well. He also has a internet radio show on tfrlive.com on Saturday nights, which is 2 shows after the Portal on Saturday. So check it out. Some great information, great shows. So that's who's here. That's showing up right now. If I missed your name, let me know. And I'll say hello. So Jean's Pretty Pups. Hello, Jean. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. So let's just see what we can get into here tonight. First and foremost, I got some stories. So let's unveil those, shall we? The first one tonight that I got lined up for you guys is from Pennsylvania. All right, so this says, about 3 blocks from my house was a government housing community with about 100 apartments, which made for a lot of kids of all ages in the neighborhood all the time. During the summer breaks and weekends, a lot of us would get together and play baseball, football, or some other sport to entertain us. And I was 9 at the time, which had made it 1986, and there was a brother and a sister that lived in the top row of the apartments, and who would often play with us. The little boy, Eric, would have been 6, and the girl, Jessie, was 12. And I know this because they were the same age as my older sister and little brother. We weren't really that close to their family, but like I said, all of us kids would play together, and our parents were friendly to each other. Right before school started that year, Eric was killed instantly in a tragic car accident. His father was also hurt pretty bad. I didn't go to the services, but my parents and my older sister did because she was friends with Jessie. About a month or so later, I was at the store with my mom. Jessie's mom was there, and she stopped to say hello. Following her was Eric, and he looked the same as the last day I saw him before he died. I wasn't scared, but I was really confused. Jessie's mom was done talking and started to walk away, but I was just froze there. My mom asked what was wrong, and I told her, Eric is right behind his mom. Well, she got a concerned look on her face and asked if I was sure, and I assured her he was there. So I went up to the next aisle where she was, and I could still see him. I told my mom he was still there, and that's when I realized what was really happening. I was seeing a little boy's ghost following his mom around. I asked my mom what we should do, and she said nothing right now and finished shopping, and then we went home. Later, my mom told me she wanted me to go with her to talk to Eric's mom because if it was one of her kids, she would like to know. So we went to her house, and there were boxes all over the place being packed, and she told us they were moving soon because the father, I don't remember the mom or dad's names, was getting out of the hospital and had to go through therapy because his foot and leg were crushed in the accident. He also had some brain damage, but I'm not sure to what extent, and they were moving closer to the hospital in Pittsburgh where he would be doing the therapy. My mom asked her to sit down and told her we needed to talk to her. Well, so she did, and my mom started telling her about the store, and of course she started crying, and she walked out of the room, and she came back in with Jessie and had us retell the story, and Jessie started crying too. I think we were all crying, to tell the truth. Then Jessie told us that she had also seen her brother several times, and her mom had woken up just about every night with Eric standing by her bed. Then her mom thanked us and hugged me and told me she was glad we told her. They moved shortly after that, and I never saw them or Eric again. Now 9 years later, and being a mother myself, I find this very heartbreaking, and if it was my little boy, I'd also like to know. Also, if by chance any of that family would read this and would like to contact me, they can. I remember more details about their family that I didn't include due to respect for their privacy. Wow. That's pretty hardcore. It's got to be really sad. I mean, it's wonderful and sad at the same time. I mean, we'd love to have our loved ones near us, but you'd have to wonder, did the little boy not cross over? Did he not go, to wherever next is? I don't know. That's really tragic. I mean, it's not uncommon for I think, and many cultures believe this as well, is that some spirits, some cultures say the spirits of the newly deceased will linger for a period of time following their death, and will eventually cross over, but they sometimes stick around for a while, and so that's not really uncommon, I don't think. But seeing that, of course, is rather uncommon. But there again, it's a young girl could see that spirit pretty well. So better than us adults, those kids are, I think, for the most part. But anyway, I just realized something. I forgot to do something. I forgot to say, hope you're ready, because it's time for bed. There, now it's official. Oh, so much going on in my world, I'm telling you. But it's always an adventure here in the Paranormal Portal, and I'm so thrilled you guys are here. Now, just a word of warning. It's not uncommon for weird things to happen in the studio here, and I understand that. But if you see little wispy things of smoke come by, don't think it's it's nothing paranormal. It's, in fact, I'm burning incense. I haven't been doing that lately, and I feel like the energy feels a little heavier. So I'm burning some incense, some frankincense incense right now, so just to lighten things up. And so if you see wisps of smoke coming, I'm not you're probably not seeing an apparition. You're probably seeing the incense smoke that does sometimes appear on camera. It kind of blows this way a little bit. So, but I do have a ceiling fan on, so it might not tonight. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, just want to let you know. So here's another one, and this one's from Oregon. Oh, didn't I close that? I thought I did. Yeah, I didn't. Yep, that's a bad habit. I got to quit doing that because I end up reading the same stuff a few times. All right, so if you... no, let's see, I got to get past this part. This one's coming from Oregon, but I got to get past the opening because they're tying it to another story, and that doesn't really help us here since we didn't just read the last one, so it gets kind of confusing. It says, I had breakfast with my dad last weekend, and I got more stories. In the last story, I said that my father thought he saw a man a couple of times, but I found out last weekend there must have been a family because my father saw a woman and a little boy. Excuse me. One night, while he was getting ready for bed, my dad, it says my bad, but I think it means my dad, turned off the light in the living room and saw a woman in the room. He turned the light on again to see if he was just seeing things, but there was nothing there. But then he walked around the corner and he saw the woman walk into the bathroom. He followed her, but he got to the bathroom and there was nothing there. Sometimes when he would get home from work, all the cords would be unplugged in the computer room, but my dad would lock the computer room door before he'd go to work. The first time my father saw the little boy, he was turning on and off lights. My dad ran after him, and the little boy ran into my old room and slammed the door. But when my dad got there and opened the door, but there was no one in there. Then a couple of times while he was in the computer room, or in his bedroom getting ready for bed, he would hear a ball being bounced, and he walked out and saw the little boy in the kitchen just bouncing the ball. So those are the news stories that I heard. I hope you like them, and if you have any questions, then let me know. Okay, those are cool stories. Again, that's not a disruptive kind of haunting. Well, I mean, it can be disruptive. I suppose seeing apparitions can be pretty disconcerting, but it's not a negative haunt. And oftentimes when we hear haunting, we have this really negative connotation about it. But a lot of times they're just presences, just people there. Now, again, I don't see anything wrong with sharing space with a spiritual presence. I don't think that, and other people may disagree. And of course, I know there are several professionals or quote unquote professionals in the community that disagree with me, and they say that if you got a spirit there, that's not where they belong, and they need to go. But I wonder, how do they know where they belong? I mean, how does anybody know where anybody belongs, and who gets to be the judge of that? So I think if they choose to stay, then as long as they're peaceful, we should respect that. But some people believe that, nope, they're supposed to be gone and they got to get gone and that's it. You don't want spirits hanging around. But I don't know. I'm kind of the opinion that if it's peaceful, let it be. But everybody's got their own threshold for that. So I don't mean to imply everyone should do what I do, but that's my 2 cents on it, whatever that means. Great to see everybody coming in. Wow, there's a lot of you guys now. I blinked and the room kept filling up. Thank you guys for all of you coming in. Thank you. I see Lewis is in here. I didn't say hello to you before. Deb, I don't know if you were here when I did the roll call, but Sooner Squatch, hello. There's a brown dwarf in here. I see somebody saying hello, brown. There's a little freaking bug. like it's like a little fruit fly trying to fly in my mouth. Yeah. Don't fly in my mouth. I don't need to eat bugs. All right, the next story is coming from Pennsylvania, ladies and gentlemen. So let's see what's going on there. When I was about 6 or 7, I never used to really believe in ghosts. I mean, I believed in them but to an extent. But now after this encounter, I think I have to change my mind. By the way, I've only seen this guy once. I used to live on Drumore Drive, Drumore Drive, in Philadelphia, but since my parents divorced when I was 8, I moved. Well, when I was about 6 or 7, I fell asleep a little early, probably around 9 or so. I didn't check my clock, but I had a dreamless sleep. Well, my bed was pushed up against the wall so that if I went to lean up on my right side, I would hit the wall. And when I fell asleep that night, I woke up at 1:48 exactly, facing the wall, with the most saddening feeling of grief and despair, or something that I just can't describe. I laid there for about 2 minutes wondering why I felt this way, but then my mood changed and it became a sense of not dread, but emotion, almost like hope or happiness maybe. I rolled over to get comfy again and saw something that made me freeze, almost as if I was experiencing sleep paralysis. A man no older than about 50 or so looked up at me and he seemed to glow a faint pale blue. He was sitting on my carpeted floor just to the left of my bed, and I can bet right now that if I had gotten up and climbed out of bed, I would probably stand in him. I knew immediately that it was a ghost, and when I looked at him, I wanted to gasp or scream, but an unfamiliar voice in my mind said, "I won't hurt you." I just stared at the man. When I first looked at him, he was examining some of my toys like he'd never seen them. When I'd unfrozen, I rolled so that I was facing the wall again, shaking violently. The next day I told my mom, and you won't believe what she said. I've seen him too, and he seems friendly. The way I looked at her, made her say, "Are you scared?" Scared? In your dreams? That's the last sentence of the story. In your dreams. Obviously, if you rolled over trembling, he was plenty scared. But brave kid, no doubt. Little children are so brave. They're just little troopers. All right, we're going to go to Pennsylvania. And this is, I don't live in Philadelphia anymore. In fact, I live in North Wales. And here's some news. I think my house is haunted by a young, playful boy. Why is that coming up in every story tonight? Except for the last one. That was an older guy, but playful boy seems to be coming up over and over. And ladies and gentlemen, I just randomly pull these stories from a pile of stories that I have. So I don't know why, but sometimes these themes emerge, and I think that it's maybe it means something. Maybe that's important in some way that we need to keep talking about playful boy. But when I first saw this boy, he was standing behind me while I brushed my hair in a mirror. He was dressed in white with black shoes. He had blonde hair and a playful round face. He was smiling as he played with a toy airplane. And when I had finished brushing my hair, turned off the light, and opened the door, he seemed to brush by me to get through. Of course, he never hurt me, but he sure moved stuff. In fact, just a few days ago, I was up in my room and I just got back from summer camp. I put a red guitar pick on the ground, got up and walked across the room to my desk. I did not touch the pick except to put it on the floor. When I opened my journal, the guitar pick soared across the room and hit my journal. When it landed, I heard a playful giggle and the running of small feet. I think this boy thinks I'm his sister or his mom or something. Or maybe he just wants to be my friend, but sometimes I see a faint white blur. Every ghost encounter has happened when I'm alone, and the ghost seems friendly and shy. I tried to play a card game with him, and he either wasn't there or didn't want to play. How can I train myself to see the other side so I can see him? That's a great question. I'd love to know that myself. I just think that if these things are around, and like I said, I really don't for the most part mind as long as they're not malevolent and trying to cause problems. But if they're around, I think we should at least deserve to be able to see where they are. I just don't think it's a little disconcerting to know that these people, these beings can be anywhere, and we really don't know, other than the fact that sometimes we feel the weight of being watched, or sometimes we feel like we see little flashes of something. But there are some people that are absolutely able to see these apparitions as clear as day, and I wish I understood that better, because I think that'd be an incredible gift. And not only to see them, but a lot of those same people can have these dialogues with them and have conversations. And I just think, how amazing would that be? How much could we learn if we could really just sit down and have a conversation with a spirit? What's going on? What are you seeing? What happens? I'd have a billion questions that I don't know if I'd sleep for a week if I had that ability. I'd just be curious and wanting to have answers. But really incredible. I guess we'll all find out someday, but I'd rather know now rather than waiting until the curtain's drawn. But anyway, very interesting. But that does seem to be a weird theme tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And for whatever reason, I guess tonight's theme is playful ghosts. Or good ghosts, or not negative ghosts. There again, I gotta wonder, is it possible for a ghost to suffer madness from can they go insane? Let's say if there's an earthbound spirit. Can they go insane in that state, or do they have to start insane before they're passing? That's what I always wonder, because if you think about some of these situations where these buildings can be just out in the middle of nowhere, nobody walks through them, nobody visits, nobody anything, no human presence except for potentially some ghostly presence or two. And what is that experience like? Do they just go insane from do they end up like Tom Hanks talking to a volleyball or what? I mean, how does that work? What goes on? That's what I wonder. Those are the kind of questions I have. Because I think I would go insane if I just had to stare at old concrete walls over and over and desolate hallways and just ugly surroundings. But you never know. I don't know if it works that way. Any of you guys got any ideas? Any ideas, guys? What do you guys think? Can they go crazy? I think that's the incense is making my eyes water. Maybe I shouldn't have turned the fan down so hard. Okay, so next one's Illinois. Sorry, guys. It's just like burning. That was a big stick too. It was one of those fat ones in the pack. You get all these various sizes because I don't know if they're hand done, but the core stick can be really thick in some of them. And this one had a thick one, and I think that's what's doing it. It's not so much the incense itself, it's the stick in the middle, I think. My mom and I moved into this new house July 9th, 2008. My mom told me about 2 weeks ago she heard 2 distinct knocks on our front door at about 6 a.m. She thought it was me, but then realized that I was in bed, so she listened, but didn't hear anything more. The odd thing is our screen door is really loud and can be heard all through the house. She said the screen door never made a sound, but the knocking clearly came from the door. Last night I was up really late on my computer, well after midnight, and I finally got undressed, climbed into bed, but put my head on the pillow, and no more than 10 seconds later, heard 2 loud knocks on the wall above my head. I listened, but I didn't hear anything more. It was really creepy, but I just ignored it. Then this morning I was in bed, and my cell phone alarm clock went off at 7, and I turned the snooze button on over and over until 7:30 to help wake me up. Well, at about 7:15, I was wide awake, just lying comfortably in bed, relaxing, and I heard 2 loud knocks on my bedroom door. I yelled, "What?" because I thought it was my mom making sure I was getting up. Silence. Then when I remembered, my mom leaves for work well before 7. Nobody was in the house but me. I didn't hear anything again, but the knocks were very real. They really weren't scary or creepy sounding at all. That's the thing. They sounded exactly like what knocking on a door sounds like. Well, I told my mom this, and she said she heard the 2 knocks late last night on the wall, but thought it was me. The knocks are very clear and quick, and after telling my mom this, and it says entire, she said that the knocks she heard 2 weeks ago possibly could have been coming from my bedroom door, not the front door, but she's not sure. My mom suggested maybe it's a friendly spirit saying goodnight and telling me to get up for school because of the odd times that they've occurred. I'm somewhat frightened and just want to know what people think. Any advice? I would really appreciate it. Our house is new and it makes very little noise. We know it's not the air conditioner or water heater, and our old house we lived in for 7 years made noises now and then, but nothing ever like this. This isn't normal house sounds. If anyone knows what's going on, please let me know. Sounds like you might got a knocking ghost. I'm just saying. Could be. I guess of all the activity, knocks, if it's a new house, the knocks could be just, the normal settling of a new house. It could be a spirit knock. There's a lot of things it could be. But, it's hard to tell. All right, so the next one's coming from California. California. This is kind of a shorter one. It says, since I was a child, I've been visited by ghosts. The earliest one I can remember was when I was 7 years old, and we were living in Colorado, and I shared a room with my sister, and one night I saw a strange woman in my room. I remember feeling a feeling of ill ease, and I saw her carry a child out the window. Well, it turns out that a couple years before we moved here, a woman had killed herself and her toddler. Oh, that is so terrible. I've been visited frequently by an entity that I call the Lavender Lady. I've never seen her, but I smell her lavender perfume, and I get a strong sense of a woman from the 1920s who was in her early 30s. The most upsetting incident was last year at work. I was working at a vet office that was in a building that was only 10 years old. There's a counter where we kept the dog dishes, and it was in a room with no windows, and the doors were shut. I was standing in front of the door with my back to the counter when a dish hit me in the back and clattered to the floor. I spun around, and when I saw no one was there, I just took off through the door. I later went back and tried to recreate the circumstances to see if it was something that could be explained, but no matter how hard I tried, the dish would not fly or even fall off the table. I'm deathly afraid of seeing ghosts, and the more I become afraid of them, the less I seem to have the strange encounters. I haven't felt the Lavender Lady in almost a year. Any ideas how I can open my mind back up to these things? So that's another thing that's coming back over and over in these narratives tonight, is people not only seeing these children and little children, at least part of the experience, but they want to turn on that ability to see. I don't know. If I knew, I'd tell you. Next one is Arizona. Let me see. Okay. This one has a dialogue. Oh, come on. I don't know. This one's probably one of those one of those Twilight-y stories, but I don't know. Well, I'll start reading it, but if it's really sappy and stupid, I'm going to stop, just for fair warning. I don't like these because I don't know. They just seem like an orgy of evidence, for lack of a better term. And just so much going on, and so much clarity, and so much information. And I don't know, it's hard for me to buy it, but let's see what it says. When I was little, I had a dream about a silhouette walking around my backyard. I saw her sort of, let's call it, dying. I called her the Black Lady. I was little, and I'm not racist. It's now about 8 years later, and I was sleeping over at a friend's house, and she lived right around the corner from me. I woke up at 3 a.m. to hear dogs barking next door, and I looked out the window to see the silhouette being attacked by them. Then I had a conversation with her. I thought you died years ago. She appeared in the hallway behind me. I did not. I simply went home. I spun around in fear. Me. Well, why are you in my backyard then? I wanted to tell you something. Me. So why are you here right now? Silhouette. No answer. Then she disappears into the night air. Another time was when I was at the park. I ditched my friend in the field as a joke. I sat on the bench to catch my breath. Hello again. I'm kind of doing a Silence of the Lambs voice. Hello, Clarice. I said a voice from behind me, and I admit I was shocked, for it was a voice I had heard before, but couldn't determine who it was. I had my eyes closed for some reason and faced her for a brief moment. Put my hand up and I said hi, then looked at the playground, which had been burned down. It seemed to be rebuilt again, but it was the color of the silhouette. Out of the darkness, I saw a shorter silhouette, but it was a boy. I looked to my right to see her, and I screamed. I ran for the basketball court where my friend was, and she yelled back at me, "My name's Miranda." I ran faster. I reached my friend and said we had to go. Amanda's house, ASAP, and get me there as fast as possible. She followed me, and I figured she was confused. I didn't care. When we reached Amanda's house, I asked her for ghost help. I told her what had happened, and she told me it reminded her of the past experiences with ghosts. And she told me it was just the heat, but she would call Shelby, another girl with ghost stories, and she said that the Black Lady was dead, but her spirit lives on inside my brain. I still don't know what to do. I don't know either. I don't have an answer for that one. It's not as hokey as I had originally thought, but still kind of hokey. I don't think spirits live on in our brains, unless just by virtue of a memory, maybe. But I don't think it's a possession or something actually taking residence in somebody's brain. But what do I know? I'm just a guy with a microphone. I don't claim I know anything. So the next one is coming from Indiana, ladies and gentlemen. Anything going on in the chat I should know about? Everything good? Oh, hello, Julia. Good to see you. Indiana. I just wanted to share a story about the house I used to live in Covington, Indiana. Well, my family bought the house. We knew it used to be an old train depot, but after the years went by, they fixed it up as a 2-story house. But the upstairs was made into an apartment, kind of like. Here's the point of the story. When I was 5 years old, my family bought the house, and about a month of living there, strange things started happening. First off, there's no piano that was left there by the last owners, and one night at 12 o'clock, it started playing by itself. We thought it might have been one of my sisters because she would play it, but Mom went and looked, but no one was in there. In my bedroom, you could go through my closet and go to the basement, but on the left, right before you go down the steps into the basement, there was a door. Behind the door was like a little room, and it would just have an eerie feeling, and you could feel cold spots. Upstairs, we put brand new bulbs in the bathroom, kitchen, and the, I guess you would call it, dining room. And then we tried to turn the lights on, and they wouldn't come on, but when we left the room and went back in, they would turn on. Then one night, my 2 sisters were asleep in the upstairs bedroom, and my second oldest sister said she got woke up by something which felt like a ruler hitting her leg. Well, she went back to sleep, and the next morning, she saw the outline of a ruler on her leg. A couple of nights later, my oldest sister and I were by ourselves, and we kept hearing something rattling upstairs, so we went to check it out, but when we reached the top of the stairs, there was a white figure with what looked like a white dress on. And my sister took my hand, and we went downstairs. And when we got back downstairs, my other sister had just come in from a date, and about an hour later, my mom and dad came home. The next thing, we were all sitting in the front room watching television, and a bat came into the house, and we've had a hard time getting it out of there, and that night we heard the same noise as a couple of nights before, and my mom and I went upstairs, but nothing was there. We were turning around to go back downstairs. My sister's bedroom light came on, and when my dad got home from the bar, we told him about it, and he said he hadn't noticed anything out of the ordinary. Some of our family from another state came and stayed a week with us, and they told my mom that the house had an unsettling feeling about it, and that nothing felt right about the place. So we told my dad again, but he still denied anything. But a couple of months later, we did move. There you go. Maybe Dad just didn't want to alarm you guys. I just wanted to keep it all calm. Okay, so we're going to Virginia on the next story. Again, the phone lines are open if anybody wants to call in. It's 720-923-0500. 720-923-0500, or you'll see the number above my head in the screen you're watching. So what's going on in Virginia? Well, I'll tell you. Stick around. I'll tell you all about it. Since I stopped using my old alarm clock when I got a better one for Christmas in 2006, since then the clock has been sitting dormant in the living room on top of the TV. It's only ever used as a regular clock now. A few days ago, it went off at 10:45 in the morning. This is a clock that hadn't been touched in months by anyone in my house, much less to set it to ring. I can't make out exactly what happened. There's just my mom, my stepdad, and me living in the house, and none of us have gone near it recently. I don't think it's unreasonable to jump to the conclusion that it's, well, something else. I know it's not a really big happening, and I know it's not really scary or surprising to me. My house has always been a little out of the ordinary, shall we say. I've had more intense experiences in the past. I did post a story about a year back called "The Laugh That Is Not Mine," and it might help if you read that, but that was the biggest thing that happened in this house. Other than that, they're all mainly little things. Like my mom and I will be talking and we'll hear a bang in the laundry room or kitchen and when nobody's in there. In fact, pretty much every night there's some noise or other. Occasionally I'll glimpse something moving out of the corner of my eye or feel a touch on my shoulder. You guessed it. There's never anything there. Even though I've never actually seen an apparition, I've always had the impression that it was a male spirit in my house, maybe middle-aged. But don't take my word for it, though. It's just a feeling I've had. You can pretty much guarantee that I'll write other accounts on this eventually, but I'm pretty much sure my house isn't going to unhaunt itself anytime soon. Yeah, they don't tend to unhaunt themselves, but there are plenty of instances where a haunting will occur for a period of time and then just stop. And why that is can be so variable. There's many, many reasons why, perhaps, but it does happen. And sometimes houses that have never had any activity will suddenly have activity for a period of time and then it'll die down again. And I think that those could just be like these vagrant spirits that just wander around. Maybe they'll stop by and raise hell for a while and then just get bored and leave. I don't know. I'm just completely guessing here, but is it possible? Maybe. I don't know. So we're going to Arkansas, or Arkansas. That's how it's spelled anyway. Why are there so many silent S's? Why do they make those S's silent? My sister and I were staying the evening with my mom, and she lived in one of those creepy old farmhouses in the country. We'd been there on several occasions and never had anything out of the ordinary happen. I'm a smoker, and one night it was really cold and I didn't want to stand outside. We decided to go down in the basement and sit by the wood burner to keep warm, and next to the room we were sitting in was a closet-sized room that was once used as a fruit cellar. It had long, tall shelves with canning jars still sitting there. We were talking and we heard a very odd commotion in the cellar, and we stopped to listen, assuming it was a mouse or something, and we could hear the jars moving slightly. We found this a bit odd, that a mouse could move a jar, and we went into the room to investigate, and what we saw truly terrified us. There was a cloudy black figure in the upper left-hand corner of the room. It seemed to just be suspended there. We tried to flee the room, however, we were unable to move. It was like being frozen in fright. The figure seemed to be looking at the jars. It never moved. It didn't have the form of a body. It was just almost like a blob of blackness. Very thick blackness. We finally turned and ran from the basement, and to this day, I will not go back to her house. I found this very scary, something I never believed in, but now I have to. That's terrible. That is terrible. How you doing, Cade? Thanks for stopping in, brother. Good to see you. Cade has a new podcast out on the Believe podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Definitely check that out if you get a chance. Again, available on all those podcasting platforms that we discussed earlier. So, let's see. What am I missing? Nothing? Okay. All right, let's continue. Got a couple more. I was going to take a look and see how much of our night has gone by. Yeah, already 40 minutes. How the hell did that happen? We just got here, didn't we? Didn't we just get here? Is it just me, or does time behave funny on the portal? I really think, I just can't believe how fast it flies. It's like, my God, I almost have to shave after every episode. It's like, time just goes weird in here. Well, we're going to Florida, so we'll see what's going on in Florida. This is a longer one, but not extraordinarily, but it is longer. So I'm coming here with this story in the hopes of being able to receive answers and ideas about what to do. Several friends of mine and I have been trying to help another one of our friends that we'll call Van. Van has been repeatedly attacked by a demon in their house for some time. They've been tried getting this demon to leave by prayer on several different occasions, but whether we're just weak spiritually or if this thing is just that strong, I have no idea. Unfortunately, we have not been able to get a priest to go into there since Van's parents do not believe what is going on. So they see no need to have one come by their house. I can't remember how long this has been going on, which I apologize, and I'll get back to you with that information. But it has been happening for some time now. The first attack happened as Van was trying to go to sleep for the night, and it showed up by their bedside. It had assaulted Van, as they were trying to sleep. I couldn't tell you in what way that it did. I wasn't there, but naturally, the first thing that pops up in anyone's head is that Van was sleeping. But this event became a regular occurrence, so we had to rule out that simple fact. Selah, S-E-L-A-H, a friend of ours is a psychic and has done numerous readings on Van. And during one of these readings, Selah was able to get a name for this demon. He had revealed it to Sal. Yeah, we made jokes about that too. Oh, revealed it to be Sal, S-A-L, sorry. Well, after every reading, Selah would be exhausted, so she couldn't do it for too long. Not long after the discovery of Sal's name, it began to be friendly with Van. Made them feel at peace around him, which is pretty odd considering the fact that he attacked Van to begin with. Although we had warned Van to be careful and not listen to him, a demon can be pretty persuasive when it wants to be. During this time, Van had complained about not being able to think straight at all, and that everything seemed kind of fuzzy. I guess if Van eventually realized that what Sal was doing was not right and took some advice from me, which I deeply regret, and had Selah send a message to him to back off and leave them alone. Well, Sal didn't take very kindly to this and attacked Van that night more brutally than ever before. Then as Van slept, it entered into their dream and attacked once again. We're trying to help to begin with, but after this incident, we became determined and driven to figure out something. And around this time, I got to thinking about names and their meanings, and I remembered that in biblical times, when people were given names that had meaning, like Jacob being the deceiver, or Simon's name being changed to Peter as a representation of the foundation of Christianity. Well, some research had been done, and we discovered that Sal meant savior. And he gave us the old name switcheroo. Go figure. Now, that's also on our list of priorities to figure out what his name really is. We did have a group session where we all prayed together and asked God for his help in getting rid of this thing. Afterwards, Selah noted that it wasn't gone, but he was tremendously weakened. As far as I know of, no other attacks have been made yet. Van is really frightened that to get his energy back up, he will either attack Van or one of us since we made him so angry. Currently, we're still trying to figure out how to get him to leave altogether. We could get everyone back together again, but we're all rarely in one place at the same time. I changed the name of both my friends for their own security, and I purposely did not mention that if Van was male or female for added privacy. I apologize for the repetition of Van's name. It was the only way I could do this story without revealing too much, but what I need from everyone now is advice and wisdom from everyone who can. I was never there for any of the attacks, so please don't ask me what happened. Yes, we do believe Van is telling the truth, considering how many of our friends are psychic or sensitive to this. As a matter of fact, I'm the only one in our group of friends who has not experienced any kind of paranormal activity, kind of hoping that it will, but there's no guarantee that I have a pair of clean pants nearby. I know that I more than likely left certain details out. That was not my intention to do so, and I'll come back to let everyone know and to correct any factual errors on my part. I don't know. I don't buy. There's a real huge discrepancy into what in my opinion of what a demon actually is and what people believe it is. I think people experience negative hauntings and they jump to demon. That's just the thing people do. It sounds impressive. It sounds, I think a lot of paranormal groups are guilty of that as well. It sounds incredibly impressive to say, well, we were investigating a demon infestation. Well, maybe, but maybe not. I don't think that in most cases a demon is there until it's really advanced in what it's trying to do. I don't think that there's that oppression going on until it's way late in the game, until they've really got their hooks into you, so to speak. I think if anyone runs around saying, well, it's a demon, just had this weird haunting, it's definitely a demon. Well, why? There are certain telltale signs that may be more apocryphal than real. A lot of people talk about smelling sulfur. I don't know. Is that a real thing or not? I don't know. It's a popular idea that people throw around, but I think a demon doesn't want to be known. And here's the other part of it, is that a demon, if it is truly a demon, it'll never give up its name, because there seems to be a weakening by surrendering a name. As in the Catholic rite of exorcism, part of it is to get the demon to surrender its name, because words are powerful, ladies and gentlemen. Words are powerful, and we all have a word that defines who we are. Like, I'm Brent Thomas. That's who I am. And so there is power in those words that are centered right around me. Everybody else out there has a name, and we don't observe that so much in our modern day, but there's a reason they call it spelling. and there's a reason that there's so many ancient sayings about don't speak in vain, don't speak ill of others, and don't speak ill of the dead. And it's because words are powerful. Well, by a demon surrendering its name, it's a submission of sorts, because without its name, it's harder to direct that energy towards this being, in my opinion. But by surrendering its name, it is, and through constant and diligent attack, it does seem to be a submission of sorts. And by having that name, you can then direct all of the prayers directly at this thing, and all the energy, whatever rituals you're using, but can be directed at this thing, not only by an energy, but by a name. And that really does intensify the effect of a rite of exorcism, whatever faith you're observing it with. And every major religion has their forms of exorcism. So it's a very common thing. But I don't think that most of the time people know they're dealing with a demon until it's really late. And by the time you know, you're in deep trouble, because they don't want to be known. They're like, they love to be not noticed. They love to do what they're doing in complete anonymity. They don't want their presence to be figured out ahead of the time, because once you figure it out, of course you're going to fight. That's just the way it is. So people are dealing with negative emotions or negative feelings and that negative cloud over your head. I mean, those can be telltale signs of some kind of oppression, not necessarily demonic, but an oppression of sorts. And then there's depression, which is a very natural thing that we go through. So it's sometimes really hard to tell, but I think people use that term really loosely. And quite honestly, I don't think many people would want to be dealing with a demon directly. I don't think you want to have that confrontation because it's an incredibly potent and powerful paranormal entity that you'll be dealing with. So be careful about throwing that stuff around. Now, there's also a belief that if you call out a demon's name, or if you even use a demon's name, you can be summoning them to you in a sense too. So that is another form of where the words are powerful. That just it's kind of like the Harry Potter movies, the Voldemort name, summon the Death Eaters. Well, it can be similar to that, and this belief predates Harry Potter's world by hundreds of years at least. So don't name demons in vain. So just my 2 cents on the deal, but yeah, demonic presences are really a scary thing, truly. And Wes just did a show on Sasquatch Chronicles. It's the retired police officer show. It was recently, and this gentleman tells some stories of when he tells a story specifically of when they had to respond to what could very well have been an actual possession, and it's absolutely frightening. And that's the kind of power and the kind of intensity that those beings can possess and can exert. So, don't take it lightly. It's not just, hey, my cereal bowl moved, it must be a demon. It's not that way. So anyway, yeah, it was, Justin. Really was a great show, but it was, that's the kind of, when I'm really thinking about it, something being demonic, it's got to have something of that kind of intensity. Otherwise it's a negative haunt, and those are horrible enough on their own. But certainly a huge disparity between just a negative haunting and an actual demonic infestation or presence, especially when it has to do with an individual. Once they secure an individual and possess them, that power is really magnified by a large, large degree. So, yeah, that's some weird stuff for sure. Yes. So, let's see, where are we at with the time now? Because I've been running my lips. I don't know where we're at. Come on, move. Oh, you son of a gun. My computer. I guess we're about done. It's about 54 minutes. And the shows are anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour, and we have passed that threshold. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of the shows. Please let people know about the Paranormal Portal. Please, if you know people that are into the paranormal and you're enjoying the shows, spread the word. We appreciate all the help. All of the growth we've had has been largely grassroots. It's been word of mouth. And I've never spent a dime advertising this show. And I hope never to have to, because it's growing brilliantly just because you guys are sharing the news about the show. So thank you all so much for those of you that have and will. And I'll be back tomorrow night. Tomorrow night is Wednesday night, so Don will be here with me. And that'll be our 2-hour show on Wednesday nights. Okay, thank you, Linda. Good to see you. Thank you, Blondie Lady. Good to see you as well. I'm just watching the chat. Everybody says good night. Love you all too, Julia. Thank you. But yeah, definitely check out the podcast if you would, please. That'd be wonderful. And let's see. We're on Twitter at Paranormal Portal. We just broke 100 followers a while ago, but it's like at 111 now. So I'm not a good tweeter, but if you have a Twitter account and you don't mind it, please follow the Paranormal Portal, PORTL. Paranormal PORTL. Be careful, because there's another one out there called, it's Paranormal Portal, but it's PORT1. They kind of put an angle on it there. So I'm gonna have to do something about that, actually. I just remembered that. I'll have to see if it's still active. But anyway, I hope you guys are doing great. So join us tomorrow night. Follow us on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Paranormal Paranormal Portal Radio, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel here. A lot of you guys watching and listening are not subscribed, and that's fine. You don't have to be, but I'd sure love it if you would. It goes a long way in helping us to become more relevant in the YouTube world. So like the video, please. That's also important. And I guess that's all I got for tonight, but thank you all. Love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. Good night, everybody.